Welcome to Under the Fig Tree podcast. In today's episode, hosts Reverend Micah Glenn and Reverend Dr. Ben Haupt talk theology and life as they meditate under the fig tree.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Under the Fig Tree podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Micah Glenn, the Director of Recruitment here at Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, joined by my kind of still newish co-host.
Yeah.
Mrs. Kati Gaschler.
That's weird.
It's just going through like it's still the change between who used to sit there and who is sitting there. What, that called you Mrs. Kati Gaschler?
Yeah.
Nobody called you that?
No.
That's not possible.
It is.
Okay. I'm feeling the jacket. It's kind of like punk rock, professional, dressy.
That's exactly what I thought this morning when I put it on.
Because the necklace is like, it's fashionable.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's surprising given where you're from.
Oh, okay.
We are joined by guests. First year seminarian Dan Hampton and his wife, our coworker, Christie Hampton.
That's right.
Who works for our communications team. How are you two doing today?
Doing well. You're already throwing Indiana under the bus, I think.
Yeah.
What the hell? Are you from?
You're 3 against 1.
Are you from Indiana? Are you from Indiana?
I'm from Indiana.
Oh, what part?
I grew up in Evansville, which is in the southern tip of Indiana.
I know exactly that route there. I know exactly where that is. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a state in our beloved union.
There are worse states.
Yep.
I'm not going to mention any.
That's good.
I won't stoop to your level.
Indiana is a great state in the United States, and that is not sarcastic. That is honest opinion. Mm-hmm. I was actually just in Indy not that long ago for a conference.
Did you see any of the sights?
No, the conference was like you wake up early, eat breakfast, do stuff all day, and then by the time it's evening, when you could be cool and go somewhere, I'm an old man and I sleep.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Life with kids. Or just getting old.
A little bit of both, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So how are you two doing today?
Good. I like how you said old, too. I guess we're second career, so we're old, wise.
You could be. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Not every
this
second career person is old, maybe, these days.
Yeah, on the spectrum of students, though, you guys are probably on the...
We're on the older side.
Yeah, on the older side of things.
Older sounds better than old.
Okay. I would have put you in the middle somewhere.
Okay.
Between the young guys and
I'll take that. Yeah.
There's all those saying, like the guys that are longer in the tooth. I don't know what it means, but I like it.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard longer in the
tooth?
Dale, is that something you've heard? Getting long in the tooth?
How old are you?
How old am I?
That's like an old time expression.
Oh,
man.
how old do you think I am? This is fun. I like this game, except with kids because they're harsh and it's like, guys, come on.
I think kids make you look younger, depending how old your kids are.
But it's the white hair for people in my beard. But I'll say this: I've been getting white hair since I was 15.
Oh,
so
see, I've always been wanting white hair, and I don't have any. But I always wanted to go gray.
Perhaps one day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So guesses?
46.
Okay.
44.
That hurts so bad.
Really? I thought you were like...
No, I'm 39.
Are you really?
I'll be 40 in August.
I thought you were older than us.
I thought you were too.
Nope.
Because when you were here at the Sim, I think that's what threw it off for me.
Oh.
Not the white hair.
Sure. No. I'll be 40 in August.
I think your wise demeanor threw me off.
I appreciate it. See now I'm less hurt.
So now we're like the same age.
Yeah. Well. See, and if you think I'm 46 now, I want to be like, how old do you think Dorothy is? But I won't do that to her.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where we stop that line of questioning.
Exactly.
Well, it's only fair. How old do you think I am then?
Well, now you said, so you thought I was older than you when you thought I was 46. Now you know I'm probably slightly younger than you. So I'm going to say 41.
38.
Yep.
Wait.
Just turned 38.
Okay, well then let me backtrack. I thought the conversation made it feel like when you said same age.
Okay.
We're the same age.
Yeah.
All right. It was only based on the conversation, not based upon anything else. It truly wasn't. I'm starting to get to the point where people are younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think on average.
Right.
Especially students. There are students that are older than me, but not many these days.
Yeah. Thinking about previous youth that I had as a DCE and seeing them being married and having kids, it starts to make you feel
It's a lot older.
Yeah.
This is very true. Like, well, there's a seminarian coming as a student in the fall of 24 from the congregation I grew up here in St. Louis, and well, he's starting seminary. He was like born when I was in high school, so whatever that means.
Yep.
Anyway.
Right. So, Dan and Christie, this is, well, it's your first year at seminary. So if you don't mind sharing with our listeners, well, you've already kind of alluded that you were DCE before, but take us back a little bit further. If you could share with us, like, the journey, the path, or the story of you becoming a church worker, and then what led to you becoming a seminarian.
Well, sure. I mean, how long is your podcast?
I mean, this is the best, like, the most important question we ask. So, I mean, if you take up the time, yeah, it makes our jobs very easy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll give you more of the abbreviated story.
Sure.
Of, kind of that professional church work. I grew up in the church there in Indiana. Wasn't still a Hoosier fan, even though most of my family went to Purdue.
okay.
But
Are you a Colts fan?
Actually, I always rooted for Green Bay more than any other. I don't really know why. I guess I liked back in the day, but anywho.
Does this change things?
It does.
She might
Anyway,
not talk to us
continue.
anymore.
I'll get over it.
So high school, I had some rough times in my life and just struggled with belief. But then got back in the church and then got involved in some leadership in both my youth group and then also some other ministries in my area, like Young Life and things, and discovered how much I really enjoyed just teaching the Bible and learning more about the Bible and being a part of a group. And then my congregation got a DCE for the first time.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, wait, you can do this for a job? That's awesome. And she told me about the Concordia system, which I really hadn't heard of before. Either I wasn't listening or I just hadn't been exposed to that so much. And so I decided to go to Concordia. Concordia, wanted to go to River Forest, but then God led me more in the way of Nebraska one day, which was great. I'll tell you more about that in a bit.
Sure.
But
That's my part of the story.
so there, I wanted to go there mainly for camp ministry because I had been working at a camp in Indiana called Camp Lakeview, which was a great experience. Done that for a couple summers as like a junior counselor, and really was enthralled by just being outside and the work with the kids there. But when I got to Seward and I got more into the DCE program, I saw how great the parish can be as well, and being active in the kids' lives, not just for a week of a camp in the summer, but every week and throughout the day. So to move the story along, I got my internship in Avon, Indiana, at a church called Our Shepherd Lutheran, and I had a school as well. Wasn't too thrilled. Sorry, Katie, to go back to Indiana. I wanted to go someplace else.
Sure.
I wanted to go and explore new places, and so at placement day, they were like, Indiana, and I was not happy.
And your grandma was excited, though.
My grandma was very excited.
One of the beautiful things about church work, amongst the many, is like it is a career where just about any geographic location is possible, depending on congregation, circumstances. So
exactly,
that's
I
great.
Stayed there for 8 years.
Sure.
So God definitely knew what He was up to. It was a good fit for us. It's where we started our family. Both of our kids are born in Indianapolis. I grew a lot in that time, learning and just how to teach God's word. We went through some troubles there, but then continued to work through it, just a congregation and things, but some really cool stuff happened as well. As we got later in our time there at Our Shepherd, we got more and more calls. I think there's a sweet spot in called worker ministry where after like 5 years of being out, and then I started working on a master's of family life ministry.
Right.
And I started getting all these inquiries. And after lots of prayer, we decided and felt like God was leading us to take a new call to Holy Cross in Colorado Springs. So after 8 years there in Indiana, we moved to Colorado, and then we spent 7 years there in Colorado. And that was a really cool opportunity because where in Indiana, I felt like more of a generalist DCE. If you kind of think about a DCE is trained for womb to tomb ministry, for going from all ages. There at Holy Cross, I was able to get still in that role, but I had a team of people. We had a children's director as well as an assistant, and I worked a lot with our preschool, and we had some great directors there. So it was more of a team setting instead of just me as the sole professional educator there, which was really cool. And I got to supervise several interns that were also DC students from St. Paul's, Chicago, and Nebraska. And that was a really cool experience to help form and just be a part of their learning and their development as professional church workers. So yeah, it was really cool how God kept, expanding me and helping grow me in so many different ways through those two ministries. Now, I think the original question was now eventually getting here, right?
This is part of the question. Yeah. It's all relevant.
And everything about DC ministry I really enjoyed. I love the idea of being able to teach and help explain God's word, both not just to youth, because I know a lot of times DC is like, oh, it's the youth guy. Well, I mean, I'm not as good with kids, even though I have two. That helped having kids.
Sure.
Little kids kind of scared me.
Sure.
Fair.
I mean, your kids are your kids, though. They're not other people's kids. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I'm not as crafty as some people have gifts.
Yes.
Like, I praise preschool teachers and early elementary. God bless you. I don't know how you do it. But give me middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I'll be a happy camper.
I prefer, high schoolers are great. I prefer middle schoolers, but high schoolers are cool, too.
Yeah.
Middle schoolers are so great. They're like just starting to understand sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
And you can just really mess with them. That is my favorite.
It's the awkwardness for me.
Oh, yeah.
I thrive in that awkward environment.
They don't take themselves seriously
Exactly.
enough yet. They're
It's
just
so good.
fools.
Well,
Yeah.
you got some of the kids who have a lower voice than me,
Sure.
and some of them that still talk. You never know what you're going to get with a group of middle schoolers.
Yeah, I think high school is my favorite. Middle school is definitely my least favorite.
Okay.
The
Again,
children,
That's
yes. High
It's
school,
very
yes,
fair.
but the
Yeah.
awkward smelling. Yeah,
Yep.
that stages.
Yeah.
And for all ages, it always was amazing to me to see when you explain God's word and you see it click. I don't know if you know that what I'm talking about, where there's something that was confusing that they couldn't quite understand, and then, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things that really just made all the work as a DC so meaningful, at least for me. And I always kind of felt like pastor was a great call. People are called to that ministry. We need pastors. That's not me.
Sure.
I'm not a pastor. And to be perfectly honest, I think if you asked anyone in those years of DC ministry, I was probably one of the most outspoken of, no, I will not go to seminary.
I love when guys say that because it's like, I'll see you in a couple of years.
Yeah, if you would have met me, I would have been, sure, Dan. You just wait.
Yeah.
So, as we experienced some more kind of turmoil at our church at Holy Cross, 2020 was crazy. Then we lost several staff members. So basically, I started to get pushed to the forefront of having to be a little more upfront in the ministry.
Sure.
And do some more of those kind of pastoral tasks. And I always thought I would hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't enjoy that role. And after kind of doing them for a while, I discovered, I actually kind of like this. And then there was lots of people around us that kept saying, Dan, you really should consider, why don't you go be a pastor? We really should do it. You have got these gifts. We think you'd be wonderful at it. No, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not going to happen. Like, I am happy being an educator. I'm not a preacher. So.
Yeah. And then there's the wife side of it too, right? I don't want to be a pastor's wife. You have that side
We all say
where,
that.
yeah. And it's amazing how many pastors' wives say, well, I'm not your normal, typical pastor's wife. And I'm like, it's funny that everyone says that.
Right.
So what is a typical, pastor's wife? And so you get that side too where they're talking, oh, Christie, he'd be really good. And they talk to me too and encourage him and say, he really should do this.
How many times outside of a Sunday service did we have someone come up to us?
A lot. I lost.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are quite a few things in there, but I'm going to pause my questions on your story because I imagine now that you're in Colorado Springs, people are encouraging you. You guys came to visit in the fall of 22, if I'm not mistaken.
We didn't. We just came last week, a year ago. Is that not crazy?
Oh,
that
right.
Our timing
That is,
for this podcast
Yeah.
is just, it was It was the preacher's game
Yeah.
against Fort Wayne.
Got it.
And we came to that one Friday night.
Which actually makes a
Yeah.
ton of sense because I remember meeting you, but it was in one of those. People always wonder when I travel a lot, and like January, February through March I'm almost never here. So I remember I'd come back from a trip, and that's why I was guessing. I met you briefly, but you were here for a visit. Now you're here, students.
Yeah.
But I'd like to pause unless you have something to say.
Not yet.
Okay. We're still in the stages where I have to like make Kati.
I know. Well, that's why I brought this. I'll write it
there
down.
we go.
Come back to it. I think it's
So before we get into this part of the conversation and follow-up questions, because I have quite a few, we won't get to all of them, but a couple are important. You are deciding to become a DCE. You look at Concordia. River Forest would have showed your age, because I sometimes think about it, but I went there as a student.
Chicago versus
so I say Chicago because that's
Well,
where I graduated. It was CUC
right.
when I graduated.
It was still River Forest there, but I
Yeah.
said Chicago. Just like it was Seward, and then it changed to Nebraska. More.
Yeah.
Mac Glenn, Wisconsin. I
Right.
get it.
Right.
But you end up going to Concordia, Nebraska. There's a girl. I'm very familiar with this type of story. And
Well, there's a story there. Do you wanna-
It's
that's
different.
where
It's
I was good.
not-
That's what I was about to say.
It's
Like,
not Nebraska technically where we met.
okay then.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we technically met at the National Youth Gathering in Orlando, Florida.
and then what? This is the
That
2004
was in
one.
2004,
So
so
you
we were
guys-
seniors.
God, and I was too
in
old
high
to go.
school.
I almost applied to be a YAV to that one. Anyway.
Just to miss
It's a year difference in us. Right there too.
So let's rewind just a little bit, and Christy, if you don't mind, picking up the story of how you both got here, because you work for us, which is wonderful, of how you got here.
Right. Yeah. So we got here in June. You mean like here in St. Louis, right?
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
wanting
yeah.
me to talk about Florida.
I
wanna know.
I mean,
I
you could
wanna know.
You could talk about
Jumping.
youth gathering. I mean, that's.
I want to know how you guys met.
Yeah.
And how
Okay.
you guys started dating.
And then
all
how
that.
we got-
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So in Florida, there was an alumni and future students gathering. And so we both went to that get together, and I was with a friend, you were with your roommate, and we just met. And
Yeah, and I'll tell you, before this time, I was like still kind of bummed because I didn't understand why. Like, why would I go to Nebraska? It smells.
Oh,
It smells.
Like Chicago,
again,
Nebraska.
with the smell.
Chicago has different smells, but
Yeah.
I love Chicago. Don't get me wrong.
This argument's not holding up. Keep going.
But anyway, I go to that meet and greet, I meet her, and I come away going, I'm gonna like Nebraska.
There you go.
Suddenly, Nebraska smells better.
Right.
Right. So then I saw him in Janzow. If you're from Nebraska, you know the campus.
Oh, you
and-
just said a word. I was like,
Yeah, you're like, what is that?
I
I'm
don't know
talking
what
to
that is.
people who are not Nebraska people. But if you're a Nebraska person, they had this gathering for new students.
It's
like,
the weekend,
weekend of
get to
WOW.
know.
Or what
Oh,
is that?
wow.
Like the WOW
Weeks of
weekend?
welcome. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I heard
So
something different. We
then-
had that at Concordia, Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we had this whole thing where I saw him and I was like, hey, I met you at the National Youth Gathering, and nothing. Like, I thought he didn't know who I was. And I'm like,
Playing it cool.
this summer, nothing. I was like, well, I'm Christy. Nice to meet you. And I just walked away, and he's just, yeah, I'm like, oh, that was embarrassing. He had no idea who I was.
That's her side of the story. See, my side is I instantly recognized her starting of the weekend.
Yeah.
And I was a, freshman college boy who was strategically trying to get myself over to her without seeming too
Yeah.
anxious.
Exactly. Playing it cool.
I was trying
Just
to be
cool.
good. And the whole time I was trying to play the games or do things to get over there close just to talk to her. And then it ended and I hadn't made it yet. And so I was all sad. And I just turned around and boom, there she was.
Caught you off guard.
And I
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything. I was completely dumbfounded.
Guys' ideas of like how to get a girl like the game is we're always way off.
We are.
We're so dumb.
That is precious.
And so she's talking to me and I'm like, say something. And I swear it was like the cartoons, right? Where she walked away and then I said hi.
Oh, sure.
After
That's incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, so we became friends, and the rest is kind of
Sure.
history. I mean, when you go to Nebraska, I mean, you see each other all the time. And
Yep.
yeah. So we started dating, I think, in October.
Yep, October.
But then we were weird because we didn't get engaged till our senior year.
Yeah, we dated for all 4 years.
For 4 years, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah.
Right.
I was fine with that.
I was too.
Everybody's timeline's a little different.
Then, your other question, how just getting here, the whole.
Yeah, as you see it.
Yeah, so a lot of people were mentioning things, and we thought, we're just going to sit down and make a list of how many opportunities we feel God is speaking to us to come to seminary, because it was through people, you know, we would pray about it and with each other, and that was probably last December, right?
Yeah, it was right after Christmas.
Yeah, so then we came up with this list of 15 different things of God saying, you need to go to the seminary. And we're just like, what?
I was still fighting it, man.
It's like, you're a DCE. You've been a DCE for 15 years, you know. This is not, we have a family, we have kids. William's 10 now, and Abby's 8. And so we're just thinking, I don't know, you know, moving them from their friends. But then I was just like, well, we should go. God's telling us. Let's go.
Yeah, I feel like you were pretty, well, here's the things. God's told us, let's do it. And I was more, but I don't want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, so when I got to Concordia, Chicago, I was in the DCE program for a year because people had been encouraging me to be a pastor, to be a church worker. And in my mind, for different reasons, like, well, nobody wants me to be their pastor. I'm just not that guy. But if I'm good at this, I'll be a DCE, I'll be an educator. Age groups kind of, from what I experienced from my home DCE, matched up. But then once I got to Concordia, Chicago, and talking to other people, everybody kept saying, well, you should just be a pastor. I actually think you should be a pastor. You should be a pastor. And I was like, oh, okay, guys, fine. I think in the back of my mind, I thought like I'd be a DCE for, get my feet wet in the ministry for a decade or so, and then go. But are you done telling your side of the story? Because then also...
Then I got a job.
That's what I was about to say.
Like,
because it's one thing for Dan to come here to be a student, you be a
Right.
SEM wife, because we do try to connect people, if their wife or if they're a deaconess and they have a spouse in their profession, kids, schools, we try to match that up. We really want your experience of not only being here, but getting here to be as simple as possible, because once you get here, being a student is very difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm a list person, obviously. We just made a list to make a move, and I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. And so I just thought, well, what are the next steps to make this happen? And one of the steps would be our kids first. Where are they going to go to school? So we looked at that. But when we came here, Tom let us know that there's a partnership with specific schools that help support that. And so that was amazing to have that financial help, that we can have them in a Lutheran school, and then he would be going to school, but still there was that piece of, well, what am I going to do?
Sure.
I was working part-time for the church, doing web and media, and then I also did brands on the side, and I still do that for different churches and schools and camps, logos, websites, things like that. But there's healthcare, there's all these other, it's not very consistent of an income, and so just to make sure that we could have all the things you need to live.
Sure.
And so I started looking for a job, and a job in the communications department came up, and I talked with some people, and I think Kati Gaschler mentioned it too, because I was looking online for different jobs, and she's like, oh, there's this job. And so I applied to tons of different jobs, and I wasn't thinking, oh, seminary, as my number one choice. Just because he's here, I thought, well, I'll have another place. And yeah, the job got offered, and I was like, oh. And then we came here, and I thought, man, this is great. We have lunch together, and the people, oh my gosh, just being in this community. Like you've mentioned before, Kati, we've talked, all of the staff and the faculty, they're just so caring and supportive, and yeah, it's one less community, right? You have just our seminary community and our school community, and then our RFE.
Right.
So yeah, it's a perfect, God knew, right? So got the job, looked for a house. After we found the school, it was like boom, 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 boom. And then May moved. Sold our house in April. It was so fast.
Sure.
Like, the way things all lined up was,
Yeah.
like, I can only attribute it to the work of the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the end of my story. Sorry.
No,
Is that
no.
too much?
Not at all. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, just because it's one of these things where, I mean, Ben and I would always talk about what do we want to do with the podcast for a little while. But as Katie and I were sitting down, we're like, what are some things we want to highlight? And of course, hearing from our students is very important. But for our married students, your wife is such a critical thing. There's so many times where I'll get a call from somebody who feels called and they want to consider it, and then in conversation at some point, like either A, they haven't talked to their wife about it. I'm like, well, this is something you have to talk to your wife about.
Step one.
It's very important.
See what she thinks about you being a pastor. Of all the people in the world who think, who might be thinking about you becoming a pastor, her opinion is actually the most important. And then, you know, if somebody's like, well, my wife's not on board, not because they don't think I should be a good pastor, but they don't want to move. And I mean, we have ways, I mean, we not ways, we have things that we can.
Helpful, yeah.
What are the things, these are the ways we can help, is that still the case? But if it's just a no, and they're like, well, can I come and study without my wife? It's no. And no, you cannot. That's not good for your marriage. So, and like, this is like a very critical piece of your ministry, because you don't know if you're going to get first and foremost, you don't know if you get called back there, but still no. Regardless,
I could not do this without Christie's support.
100%.
There's no way.
And that's the other, like, again, your marriage, but again, it's the same thing. Like, you're trying, like, well, now you got a full semester of coursework, earlier I said it's very difficult. It is very challenging. It's doable, but I mean, it's a lot. It's the same thing. Guys will always ask me, can I work full time and go to the seminary? I'm like, I don't know anybody who's done it successfully.
You can, but then you don't get to sleep.
I don't know anybody who's done it successfully and become a pastor, working full time and going to school full time here. It's impossible.
Well, and honestly, that's one of the things that led us to be here. Like, because there are other great opportunities, other great routes to do.
Sure.
But I wanted to get the fullest, and also like to be fully committed, if that makes sense. Like, to be able to focus my energies on all the learning I can get and all the nuggets I could learn. Doing some of the other routes are fantastic and are great for those guys. But I think for us, it was just the best option for us was to be here in person. I had done a master's program online, and I learned a lot, and it was a really great experience too, and it grew me a lot. But I knew that in-class participation and the ability to interact with professors and be on a campus would be, for me personally, would be the best option.
Right, because then there's a space in our heart for S&P, because my dad was an S&P guy. And so, I mean, he had always had that in his heart to be a pastor as well. So at age 60, he finally went through, and did the whole S&P route, which is a lot. It's still tons while you have your family. I'm a PK, but an adult pastor's kid.
Same now. Well, my dad, I think he was maybe 65 when he started the S&P program. Whenever somebody calls and like, well, I heard like the MDiv is hard, maybe I'll do the S&P. I'm like, well,
they're both hard.
I was like, the S&P program's not easy. So if you're looking for an easy way to become a pastor, we don't have one of those.
We don't offer that.
It's just a matter of circumstances and how things go. I was like, but it will not be easy by any stretch of the imagination. I want to shift gears, but if you want to stay here.
Well, I was just going to say, I think, Christie, you were the first person outside of our team that I met on campus.
Oh. At the barbecue, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Or was it?
Or was it like walking across? I don't remember.
Okay.
I feel like you had a camera in your hand. And that is probably what drew me to you, because you also do, but I just want to comment about how well you seem to be in our campus community too, which is just so neat to see. I feel like you've also kind of looked for opportunities to create more community. So you guys both hosted an open house.
Yes.
Back in, I don't remember, November?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you're organizing some women's hikes.
Yes.
Which is fun.
Yay, hopefully. Because the last one we canceled.
Yeah.
Ice storms.
Well, especially when spring starts to hit. there are incredible hiking trails around here. Like Castlewood. There's me and Dorothy hike with the kids. Well, and we started heavy because of COVID. We're like stuck all day. We just started looking at all. I mean,
nice.
There's like a thing you can do where there's like a sheet where you can fill it, like for your kids to check off the places they've hiked, and they can turn it into the county parks department and get a thing. So yeah, there's.
That would be fun. I would love to know that and take the kids.
St. Louis County Parks. You could probably just Google St. Louis County Parks, and it'll give you the full list. There's tons of them. And then if you like Googled hiking trails in Missouri, there'll be a page of like the top 10, and there's waterfalls. Missouri is a beautiful place. I mean, St. Louis is a valley, but once you go west, I'm not going to say mountains.
Because we're from Colorado.
Even if you weren't from Colorado.
They will laugh at you.
They're not mountains, but there's nice hills in Missouri.
There is some more Well, you're from southern Indiana, so there's at least elevation there.
There are some nice hills in southern Indiana.
Yeah, but I was going to say
hills.
Exactly.
They're not mountains.
Even Georgia, I would
elevation
call it, because I grew up in Georgia before Colorado. Still would call that hills. Yeah. Different types of mountains.
Words matter. But Dan, in your story, as you were talking about it, if I can rewind a little bit, because this has been important in our work recently, you were talking about being a junior counselor at a NALOMA camp, National Lutheran Outdoor Ministry Association. And it's a relationship that we've kind of been creating over the last year between us and NALOMA, because they have junior counselors. They always need junior counselors. They have counselors. They always need counselors. I have a high school program. I want to encourage them to go be junior counselors. And the whole point being, the idea is there was a whole article, Rebecca Lucas, your predecessor, had an article in the Concordia magazine about called staff at Concordia Seminary who had worked at a NALOMA camp as a counselor or something else like that. So if you could just briefly, if you don't mind, talk about what it was like being a junior counselor, and if that played any role in kind of like your early formative years of wanting to do this later down the road.
I think for me, being a junior counselor gave me opportunities to, again, be in leadership and to be active in both leading the campers and then also sharing my faith. We do a lot of learning earlier on, but then actually putting that into practice and sharing that actively with other kids can be scary. And so the camp ministry offers, I won't say it's not scary to do it, but an opportunity where you're surrounded by other people who are also sharing their faith and encouraging you. So it's just that good experience. And as I did it as a junior counselor, I was like, I love doing it and loved being able to be that one-on-one with some other kids. Like I had a great counselor who I worked with when I was at Camp Lakeview, and that I think helped propel me to want to do more, to share my faith and be more involved in the lives of youth. When I was at Concordia, I spent 2 summers, one in New York at a camp called Camp Sunrise, and then another summer at Camp Luther Haven in Idaho in Shoshone Base Camp. And so I worked at both those 2 camps, which was really cool to give me a different flavor. Both were very different, different styles of leadership, different focuses. But even there, again, that idea of leadership, and it was cool that at Concordia, we were talking theoretically about how you share your faith and how you minister to youth. Well, during those summers, I was doing it like every day, 24 hours a day with those kids. You don't get a break when you're a camp counselor in the summers. Maybe a little bit on Saturday, but that's about it. So I really learned a lot, and I think that helped me in my future ministry, and it will continue to help me in my ministry, just having those experiences. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So if you're listening and you know high school youth, you can go to NALOMA, then it's just NLOMA.org, to maybe go as a camper, because the camps, there's so many, you'd be surprised that we have a directory. There's 30-something across the country.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, they're all different. They have different offerings, and you could go to different places. But yeah, if it's a youth, I have to consider going for a summer to be a junior counselor. It's good for them. It's a nice way to spend your summer, and it'll be great. Yeah. And then come to Vocatio, June 22nd to 29th. Registration is now open, so if you go to csl.edu, I think it's probably /Vocatio. But if you go to the admissions page, visits Vocatio High School now, not the retreat. The retreat is for college age and second career people. registration for that happens to be open now. So if you're considering ministry, come to Vocatio Retreat. But if you're thinking about high schoolers, go to Vocatio High School. Come spend a week with us. It'll be great. We'll introduce them to a couple of Naloma people. They'll try to get them to become junior counselors. And it'll be fun.
Yeah.
How about that for a plug? Sponsored by Vocatio.
And it plugs back in because that's on my list. I'm the one that's the specialist for the high school one.
Nice.
For Vocatio.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's on my list. I will get to those things.
Well, I did.
It's fine.
I wanted to ask you because I know that you work in communications.
Yes.
But I actually don't know all of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, like you said, the photos.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll take photos. This week we have S&P guys, speaking of S&P guys, on campus. And so I went yesterday and took some photos of them in the classroom.
Yeah. They're great.
Thanks. And let's see what else. Sarah, another one of my coworkers, she's we're both the same people. That's not coming out right. But no, she's awesome, and she was so helpful when I first started here. And so we do the same thing, but for different events.
Sure.
Nice.
So anything communications, getting things out through online, through social, through DAs. I mean, it goes on and on. Emails. Yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing photos later on our social media of whatever's going on campus, and
it's helpful to see what happens here.
Yeah, and just the variety of things you guys all post. I think when you guys posted the guys putting up Christmas lights, it was like, that's fun, and yeah, it's just neat for other people to be able to see what's going on campus.
It's amazing how many things are constantly
Yes.
going on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really ever dead around here. There seems to always be something happening.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, this campus is live and in action. I mean, because of your job and photographs and things like that, as we're talking about it, it's one of those things where, like, the photographic history of even Vocatio and seeing it grow and all those other things, and just that visual of being able to show people what's going on in here. And so we can say, like, all right, we have this program from our high schoolers all across the country, all across the Synod, where the purpose of the event is to at least encourage them, if not inspire them, to think about church work as a career. And that's how it's advertised. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from a parent and say, like, can you give me some information about your summer camp? Which I don't mind the term, and I give them the information. It's always like, just so you know, like, if you send your son or your daughter here, this is what we're going to talk about.
Right.
And nobody's ever like, oh, no, like, never mind. But the point is that last summer we had almost 70 high school students come and spend that week with us, and to see them from the first Saturday they come to how they feel about going back home, kind of, that lament that they had a good time, which is a good thing. But like the encouragement of wanting to delve deeper into this, and the reaction we're getting from parents and things like that is all really incredible. And so just again, Christy, you'll be a part of that this year. Yay. And I for me, it's just one of those things. The more and more people from our campus that come and experience it with it, but also pour themselves into it, makes the experience so much better. And so it'll be great. Yeah. It's getting here quickly. I got to start scheduling stuff.
Well, you never know how long too it'll have an effect on somebody, because Dan came to one 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But what was it called, though? It wasn't
Vocatio. I don't know what it was called, but I was a high school student, so some early 2000s, so 20 years ago.
Got it.
I don't know what it was, but I remember staying in, like, one of the dorms, here on campus, and thinking it was so cool. But at that time, I was just trying to explore what is church work. Because it was that same time when I'm like, well, what's a DCE? What's a DCO? What's, what does a pastor do? How are all deaconesses? What is all this stuff? I don't know anything. So it was very informative, and I remember doing that. That's been a while.
Look at that.
Isn't that cool?
I wasn't responsible. Cool. I wasn't in charge of Vocatio when you came the first time.
That's a social media post waiting to happen.
There you go.
The impact that whatever Vocatio was had on you.
20 years later.
Yeah. I know somebody who can probably do that.
Well,
Do you have any follow-ups? Because I have another. I'm going to switch gears.
There you go.
Okay. So you guys have kids.
yes.
What was the transition like for your kids? Because a lot of people are in the same boat, and that's a major concern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well,
But you guys did it.
we did. And our kids did, which is the really important thing.
Right.
I think we prayed a lot about that. And we still continue to pray that they have good friends, because they had some really great friends in Colorado, and it's just hard. It's hard to move as a kid. And there's a little bit of a blessing that a couple of our kids' friends in Colorado were also moving.
Oh, sure.
And so we were able to talk about how, well, they're moving too, so they're not going to be here anymore. And so it's all going to be a little bit of a change. I think for us, one thing that really helped was the fact I was doing summer Greek. So I started in June, and there's a great community here on campus in the woods. And so Christy reached out to some, the women, to ask if they could find someone to watch our kids while I was in class and while she was working. Because, it's like, oh, what are we going to do with these two during the summer months? We can't just leave them at home, although we could try. But they're a little young at that point, so not quite ready for that yet. And people responded and said, yeah, we'll be happy to watch them. And I think that really helped, at least in the seminary community, the kids getting to, kind of get comfortable here. And then their school has been really good too. They did some summer camps in the summer. When else would you do summer camps? Summer camps in this. Anyway.
In the late summer.
Yeah. And that got them a chance to meet the kids they're going to be in class with,
Sure.
which I think helped make that first day of school not so scary. And so things like that, I think, really went a long way.
Yeah, Abby, she did cheerleading, right? And then William did basketball. And I was more worried about Abby. Being a girl, I feel like William's like, whatever.
Sure.
I'm big man on campus. I'm in 5th grade. That's middle school now. So he got to be upstairs and all that. So he was excited. But I always wonder about Abby. And so she walked in because they had an early morning drop-off at 7:30. And since I have to be here at 8. So we did that, and we walked her in. And then her friend from cheerleading came up and said, Abby. And I was just like, okay. So first day of
That's
school
awesome.
went really well for both kids. So that was helpful too. As well as, they loved hanging out with their friends in the woods. And then every Friday we still got to see each other for the barbecue.
Yep.
So they transitioned way better than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
And because of technology, they can still keep in touch with their friends. So
Right.
even the ones who moved as well, like one friend moved to Virginia and others moved other places in the country, but they were still able to keep in touch with them online. And so another piece of that, helping the kids, but also us, or maybe I can just speak for myself, me, would be being from Colorado Springs. We're in a huge military community, and they move every 3 years.
Right.
So we've had amazing friends move in and move out. So being in a place for 7 or 8 years seems like a long time compared to those families. And we watch them do it, and their kids do it. And so having their example really helped us know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
No, I'm a military brat. So my dad was a Marine until I was 11. And so exactly, whenever school started, you never knew who would come back for the next grade. Because, people, it's very common for the school year to end. And if you're going to redeploy, bang, you're gone like the day school ends. And that happened. We were in Beaufort, South Carolina, and we actually left a week before school ended, before my dad got stationed back in Hawaii. But, hard times. But exactly, I grew up with that. And so I always have to fight the feeling. Like, it feels like every 3 years. And it's weird that it happens. Whenever I'm like in a spot for like 3 to 4 years, I always get like this weird thing, and I have to like talk through like what I'm experiencing with Dorothy. And it's that itch to move. It's just weird how some of those things just stick with you. But well, I'm glad that they transition. And again, being able to because St. Louis has so many Lutheran schools, but being able to provide that context, that environment with other families and things like that.
And not only the environment here at the seminary, but just the St. Louis city environment.
Yeah,
like,
so much to do.
So much free stuff.
I know. The zoo and
I grew up here just north, and so like exactly raising. People ask all the time. Like St. Louis is my Indiana. When we got a call. We were expecting, at first wanting to get called away from Missouri. I was like, yeah, try something else. Although, like, you know, Dorothy's from England, so we had lived in different places. But now that we're raising our family here, it's like, oh, well, free zoo. Lots of there's never a shortage of things to do, and even if the things that you pay for aren't preposterous, or they don't have to be, so it's a nice place to raise a family.
Yeah, and it's not like you have to drive a long way. There's lots of things ready, accessible, and so
from here. So it's the location of the seminary is an absolute blessing. We're like smack dab in the middle of St. Louis, so everything is accessible, and the highways we have connect quickly. But where I grew up in North County,
that could be a little different.
It didn't always. So when I first got my call here, for the week I commuted before COVID shut us down. It's like a 40-minute drive, but
wow.
But you guys live out in Fenton.
We do.
Right? Oh,
yeah. So we're off campus. So, but it's on our way. So the kids are in De Pere.
Okay. Well, yeah.
They're at St. Paul's. And so it's just 15, 20 minutes from our house to there. And then we go straight down, like you said, the interstate. They all come to Clayton area. So yeah, we just jump back on the interstate, 15, 20 minutes. So it's not horrible.
Nice. Yeah. It's one of those things where when they built the seminary here, I don't think they knew how the highways would be built around it, but like it is, the location of the seminary is unreal. Yeah, I love it. The
traffic isn't horrible. I mean, I was told to always put in Google, so every morning I search to make sure that there's no accidents.
Clear.
But it's not like Atlanta growing up.
Well, no. It can be. All it takes is for someone to tap their brakes a little too hard, and there's a traffic jam for miles. I had a thought but lost it. That's fine.
I was waiting for you.
Yeah, sorry. We were talking about traffic. We were talking about location, the seminary. Oh, I was going to do another plug. Come and visit us.
Please.
Not only can you come and visit at Vocatio Retreat as a group, but if you're able to apply and it's something that's on your heart, we offer personalized visits. Reach out to us. We'll get you booked. We'll bring you on your campus. Dan and Christie can attest the importance of that visit and the transformation of that visit.
Yeah, you can even apply now and be here by the fall, because we did that last year.
That's what we did.
You got time.
You still got time.
Yeah.
You do have time.
But yeah, come and visit us. And even if you come and visit and you say, I don't want to become a pastor, we don't send you receipts. So come hang out with us for a while.
It's fun to hang out. Yeah.
Why don't you guys talk about what you guys did on your visits?
Because that would be perfect. Yeah.
That's my job to organize that now, but I don't really know what you guys
Katie's trying to figure out what she does.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, what did you guys do? Maybe I'm going to do something differently. I don't know.
Go ahead. You start.
Well, we started out, we came, and I think we flew in, was it that morning? Or no, it was the night before. It was the night before, and then we started in the morning by checking out the school, because we wanted to make sure to have time to look at the school in person and kind of see if that was, because that was a real priority for us, making sure the kids had a good kind of home base. And then from there, we would work on the other dominoes. So then we were picked up and had a good breakfast. We did chapel. I got to sit in a class, Creeds and Confessions, which I'm in right now. And I remember, like, I was just visiting, and I had my notebook out, and I was furiously scrolling notes because I was just intrigued by everything the professors were saying. And I still have that too. And I think that class is next week. So I've already got questions that I wrote down last year.
Who was the professor?
Dr. Kolb.
Okay. Yeah. We do send a lot of visitors to his class. It's the good time. And he's also great. So yeah.
Yeah. So I have questions for him that I'll ask next week in class.
Well, you were there. I was with Katie.
Yep.
And we went down to Caldy's.
Nice.
And we had coffee. And then we went up to Lober too and just hung out and talked.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, and then we had lunch with Dr. Bodie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
After that, which was a good lunch. And then after that, I'm fuzzy on what we did after lunch. Do you remember?
No.
I don't remember.
So that's all you need is half a day.
That's all I need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we came back for the game, because that was the game that evening.
That was that evening.
So I think we had free time in the afternoon, and then we came back.
Oh, did we do a tour? Was that after lunch?
That's when we did Don't Tell Jacob. Sorry, Jacob. Yeah, Jacob gave us an amazing tour.
It's a year
of
ago.
The campus.
A lot is going on. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the tour, and then we had the free time, we went out to dinner, and then came back for the Preacher's Classic
Nice.
basketball game, and saw the Preachers win
Yep.
against Fort Wayne, like we did this past weekend.
Like
Yep.
normally.
Yay. That was one thing.
Yep.
That I sat there and was like, I have not played basketball competitively really since high school. I thought, it'd be so much fun to come play.
You're
and
perfect for our team.
and Dr. Nasser's like, and I'm looking at these young pups going, I cannot run that fast.
No.
But they're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. Just come play, have a good time. And it's really nice to push yourself to like my limit that I'm currently at. I mean, I'm not anywhere where I think I used to be when I was in good physical condition.
Yeah,
but
but
it's
I
okay.
get to watch you because
Yeah.
I never saw you play in high school.
Right.
There you
So,
go.
and you never
That
played in
is-
college, so it's kind of fun.
That is fun. That was my experience when Paul was at the Fort Wayne Seminary. He played football. He played intramural football there.
Nice.
And I never got to see him play football before that. So it's fun.
Yay.
Yeah, I like playing basketball. I signed up for intramurals, and I had Dylan Weber and is team captain, and I went out for one football game, and two things happened. My mind was telling me to do stuff
Yeah. Yes.
that my body can no longer do.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? You're like,
It's like
Like the muscle memory
I mean,
is there.
when
but
I was a student,
not really.
I could still really compete. Like a shutdown corner, put me on the fastest
Nice.
person on whatever team, and they're not going to catch the ball. And then I got burned on a route, and I probably didn't have to, but again, it's just one of those things. You're out of town. I was like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be out here. and then like the aching body, I was like, yeah, I love playing, but you just got to be careful. I don't want to pull a
Right.
hammy or something like that.
yeah, you gotta get, I completely feel you there. Like, my body just can't seem to react the way my mind can. My mind says I should be 2 feet ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I'm not there.
Exactly. It happens a little too often these days where I just playing with high schoolers or young college age students. I'm like, all right, I am getting old.
But I've got more weight to throw around now, so
Oh.
that's the nice thing.
Well, yeah, if they're crazy enough to try to play on the block in basketball, well, you've made a serious mistake here. Yeah. You're not only not big enough, but you're certainly not strong enough. I'm about to score
Yep.
and make you feel really bad about yourself.
That's right.
This old man just scored 20 points on this one spot. Well, that's great, and we love having you here. I'm just looking at the time. Today we don't have the studio forever. Usually we have a
Right.
big block of time, and we don't want to miss the last segment. Any final thoughts before we get into Right for the Pick or Leave It on the Tree?
No, I'm just glad that you guys were able to come on because, well, everyone's story is unique, but hearing from a student and his wife at the same time, I think is important for everybody to kind of see themselves in those situations. So it's
for having
doable.
Yeah, I think
You guys are doing it.
absolutely. Like I said, without Christy, I still don't think I would be here. I think God's continually knocking on the door, but without us doing it together, I think that's the real key. Is that we both sat down and prayed and made the decision together as a couple and as a family. So, and now it's cool to see how God continued to open doors, and it's been fun. It's been a fun experience.
Good. Well, you guys always seem like you're having fun.
We are.
And it's great to
very
see you guys
enjoyable.
both on campus at the same time.
It
I
is.
think
Yeah,
that's
I
fun.
love
Yeah.
doing that.
It's great.
I was going to ask because you were at DC before, and it's common. I imagine your vicar just probably deferred because you have church experience.
I don't know. We're praying for either that or a local vicarage.
Okay, because I guess that's
would
also
be-
not guaranteed.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not
So
guaranteed.
it's something you have to prove that you can do and is valuable, but it's an option for somebody who's been a church worker before. And even if sometimes for family circumstances to where, again, family is important in the seminary exemplifies that. And so we're not trying to put more strain on your kids.
Right.
Or you,
Right.
for that matter.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We value that.
Again, the formation process, the academic side, very challenging. Life here, we try to make it as doable and desirable as possible. I love living and working here. All right, so now it's time for I said asking you how you got here was the most important part of the podcast.
He lied.
I was going to say I bent the truth
Sure. Okay, that sounds better.
because we're going to do some Right for the Pick and Leave It on the Tree.
Okay.
Chrissy, you sat in on, you've been BTS before, right?
Once.
No? Once, yeah.
Yeah.
Just so you could get familiar, right? So
Right.
this is like by far the best part of the podcast where we just ask you a bunch of random subjects, usually just one word. And if you like it, it's right for the picking. If you don't like it, you leave it on the tree. And feel free to explain why.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first.
You go first.
And I've made the decision. This is probably the most important question anybody could be asked of all time.
Oh,
and it is.
You're going to ask this again.
I think it's going to every new guest. This is going to be the first. Yeah.
All
So it's right for the pick and leave it on the tree. Pineapple on pizza.
Should we say it at the same time?
Oh,
Do
I
it.
love it. Yeah.
Yes.
Ready?
1.
Wait, hold on.
You got to think about
If you
this.
like it, it's ripe. If you don't like it, leave
So
it on the tree.
I say ripe or leave it on a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right for the picking or
So
leave it on the tree.
ripe is yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I know what you're going to say. All right, here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Leave it on the tree.
Ooh.
See, that's why Christy works here.
Because I know, pizza.
It's pizza. I mean, not my preferred, but it's just don't put broccoli on there.
So you're
So
just
wait,
focused,
you're saying you do like it, though. You said
but
right.
you're focused on the
said right.
you just want the pizza no
I want
matter
the
what's
pizza.
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay.
More about the pizza than the toppings. I would take broccoli over pineapple on pizza.
That,
any day
Really?
of the week.
That actually
Broccoli?
sounds kind of good.
It like
I would try that.
I mean there
What is wrong with you people?
there are several vegetables I'd probably put on a pizza before I put pineapple. Personally.
All of them.
Pineapple gives you a nice sweetness to the acidity of the tomato sauce, and it'll also depend on
No.
your dough.
They're
Yeah.
both very acidic already.
You're not selling it.
Yeah.
It's
And-
just horrible.
And the sweetness of the pineapple is actually the worst
Yeah.
part about it on a pizza. It's so vile. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't care for it.
Though,
And
I did have dried pineapple just before this, like
Oh.
dried fruit.
That's delicious.
That's
so-
amazing.
So
Yeah.
great.
I could eat a
Maybe-
whole bag of dried
But not on
pineapple.
the pizza.
Dried pineapple on a pizza.
Like the
Nah.
dried fruit. Yeah. So
Well,
I'm
okay,
still gonna-
I'm going to turn it back on you guys real quick because we're in St. Louis.
Oh, I love St.
Okay.
Louis style pizza.
We just talked about this.
Emos. Yeah.
Provel cheese.
Give it to me. Yeah. Nice and bubbly and crispy on top of the
What,
pizza.
what do you guys say about Provel cheese?
Oh, it's right for the picking.
Leave it
100%.
on.
Yeah.
Leave
leave it.
I mean, but I'm from here, so it's understandable. Like it is one of those things. Very few transplants like St. Louis style pizza, and even if you grew up here, it's still a dividing topic. But
I want to try it again
I
because I've
love-
had emos and everyone was like, "No, that's not. You shouldn't go there.
see
that's
again.
the worst."
right?
See, I
Well,
love emos, but anyway.
Okay.
If you put a lot of toppings on it, I've noticed I will eat it and enjoy it. But if it's just mainly the cheese, it's just too much.
Well,
Does
sure.
that make sense?
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
here's the perfect emos pizza. It's pepperoni, bacon, black olives, green pepper, banging combination.
Ooh.
I almost had that. I had the pepperoni and the black olives,
I'll have to
but
try
then I
that.
had mushrooms.
They don't use bacon bits. They use like strips of bacon.
See, I heard that. That's weird.
What?
Whole strips.
It's
of
crispy.
bacon.
It is. Oh, okay. Never mind. Let's just do yours.
let's move
We're
on.
we're
Yeah,
going. We're
okay.
spiraling here.
Mine is also food because you're from Indiana. I just mentioned this one last episode too. Ripe at the picking or leave it on the tree. Indiana pork tenderloin sandwiches. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The big.
I didn't know that was a thing, even living there for a long time. So
I've never had.
I've never
one.
had it. Okay.
What? You've never had one?
No, I've never had one.
You never went to
Okay,
a
wait,
fair?
we need to answer
I-
though.
Oh, got to answer. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
One. Are you counting?
Sure. 1, 2, 3.
Ripe.
Right. I changed my mind. I think I'd leave it on the tree, but it's like, well, I'd try it because I'm always up for trying new food, but I've never. Have I had it?
You've had it. You've had it. We had it at the state fair a couple times,
Okay.
and that's one of those like Indiana foods is the tenderloin, which is like as big as your face.
Or
on a-
larger.
or larger, and then on a
So
bun
weird.
that's doesn't even occupy like
Yeah.
a quarter
How
of
do
the
you
tenderloin.
have to like? I don't know. It's well, let's leave it on the tree. 'cause
I usually
it's so
will
weird.
take it and eat around the whole outside until I get to the bun, and then
That's
it's like a
fair.
sandwich.
All right.
But,
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
I mean, the way Katie described it, it's just a schnitzel on a small
Okay.
bun, so it's right for me.
Okay.
The need to call it something different because you put a little bun on it is so weird.
I know.
All right. All right, I'm gonna stick with the food theme. If this may not be categorized as food, but I saw it. You have young kids. I don't know. Right for the picking, leave it on the tree. Oh, actually, also generationally, fruit roll-ups. Are you gonna
Wait.
count?
I will. But,
Not fruit leather. That's not what I'm talking about.
But fruit roll-ups are fruit by the foot.
So okay, you're talking about.
There's two different things.
But like, they are the same thing. They're just different in packaging and brand.
Don't tell it to my kids. They are different things.
Well,
I buy them one. They're like, what?
yeah.
I wanted
I
fruit
wanted
roll-ups.
the other one.
But
Yeah.
but we're not 10 and 9, 10 and 8. Exactly. So Fruit roll-ups. Right from the pick and leave it on the tree.
1, 2, 3.
Leave it on
Right.
the tree.
Okay.
All right.
I had one of those too just like 2 days ago.
Bang. See? So this is I know why Christy works here. It all makes sense
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, your answers are all right.
Good.
I'm just right out. No.
No, you're just a student. It's all good. bro.
You're still learning.
But you'll never work here. No, I'm just messing around. I don't make those decisions.
Oh, I have another kind of Indiana one.
Oh,
This
okay.
is not food.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right for the picking or leave it on the tree. The TV show Parks and Rec. 1, 2, 3.
Leave it on the tree.
You've never seen
We've never
it?
We've
seen
never
it.
seen
Oh,
it.
I don't know. So that's why I said
Okay.
leave it, because
All
we've
right.
never seen it.
That's a
Sorry.
shame.
It's one of those things. It was on Netflix for a while, but now it's
Yeah,
not.
I saw
and-
one
and
Yeah,
so
I don't
then
know
we
where
never-
it's at.
We
but-
never could watch it. So
And since I only saw one episode and didn't go back, that's why I said leave it on the tree.
I got you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't get hooked the first.
Yeah.
Well, the first season is not great.
Like a lot
but-
of sitcoms, like
Right.
character development. Once you get to like season 3, it really takes
Yeah.
off. Okay.
But it
hours
explains a
in.
lot about Indiana.
Does it?
I've heard that.
It really
Okay.
does.
Maybe Indiana's a little better than I thought. I love Parks and Rec.
Oh,
It
it's
is
so
an
great,
incredible television show.
Yeah.
One day we'll have to figure out what Parks and Rec character everybody is.
I already know what I am.
You think you're Ron Swanson?
No.
Oh, April. Sorry.
April.
There we go. All right. What do you
And
think?
they have no
totally.
idea
So-
what we're
No
talking
idea.
about.
Yeah, all right, all right. Off air, I'll
Okay,
ask you
okay.
who you think
Yep,
I am.
yep.
All right. This is the last one for me, and then we'll get out of the way. They're taking pictures soon. Right for the pick and leave it on the tree. One-use kitchen gadgets.
Oh.
Like they only have one function.
I bet we're going to be different on this one.
1, 2, 3.
Leave it on the tree.
Oh,
What?
bang,
No
bang.
way.
Yeah,
All right.
You like your kitchen gadgets.
I do, but I want my kitchen gadget to have a specific purpose.
That's
That's
what
what
I'm
he's
talking
saying.
That's
about.
what he's saying.
One
So-
use. They have one use.
Like the garlic press.
Specific.
Would
Yeah,
have-
exactly.
I do
Something.
like the
I mean,
garlic
you
press,
could press
but-
other things to it, but why would you?
Or like
a specific
Oh,
use.
I
Only
misunderstood.
one use.
Yeah,
I'm
one,
sorry.
one
One
use, like right. The one, so it's right for you then.
That's right for me.
I I just got to call it something else. But you understood what I was talking about. Okay.
like the little
'Cause I work here.
strawberry core.
I see them. I don't eat strawberries enough to even care about having that. I see people do it with straws,
You're
but
still
I don't
learning,
believe it.
Dan.
I'm still learning.
It's okay.
But at the same point, I don't like a lot of stuff either. But I like kitchen gadgets. Kitchen gadgets are one of those things that's like, ooh.
When they do
they
the
work
thing
out.
they're meant to do well, what are you gonna do?
How about you guys?
It's leave it on the tree. I had one of the strawberry core things that'll
Mm-hmm.
just like you just put it in and it'll take the top off. It just took up space in the drawer, so I got rid of it.
Right.
And
I imagine it didn't take up too much space though.
well, no, it was about this big.
Right.
But also, I don't do a lot of the cooking,
That's fair.
so I don't really make kitchen decisions. I'm not allowed to.
And I do a ton of cooking. I love the kitchen, and so I'm all for it.
He does more cooking than I do.
Like
you love
there-
it more. I'll do it, but
Yeah, I love to cook. It's one of my favorite things to do.
100%. There
I
are
re-
things that are one use. That I'm just like the strawberry core. I don't.
It
need
was
but,
pointless.
yeah.
You guys had very good food at your open house.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, I remember that.
we'll have to do it again.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Do it again and do some barbecue next time.
Yeah.
Bang bang.
Yeah. All right.
All right, last one.
I'll do one more. Let me right for the pickin' or leave it on the tree. I'll do another food one. Cilantro. 1, 2, 3.
Ripe.
Yes.
Like very right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you?
I love cilantro.
Okay. Great.
One thing you have to learn different vernacular in England. They call it coriander. Anyway,
Yeah,
What?
because coriander seed is
Really?
actually
what
the-
becomes
becomes.
Oh, that's right.
what?
I have heard that before.
Yeah, cilantro.
If you let it grow and go to seed, it becomes coriander.
Yep.
Which always happens to mine when I decide.
Well, seminary
I like 'em both.
plug of working here, walking into Lober, they have tomatoes and they have basil, and I don't actually, now that I'm talking, I don't think they have cilantro.
No, they didn't. But they had jalapenos.
Jalapenos. Oh my gosh. So
Every
that
once in a while
smell
they'll have
together,
some.
walking in every day.
Real spicy
I knew
pepper
about
pepper.
So good.
the wildflowers that are growing there, and someone told me just go pick them because it's good
Yep,
for them.
By the ramp, you can
Yeah.
get.
I didn't know there was other stuff. That's great.
We had jalapeno poppers like
Yeah.
every week in the summer.
Wrapped with
nice.
bacon.
Nice.
Cream
I mean, the
cheese.
only way they should be served.
Right. And cilantro.
Before we sign off, if you don't mind giving us a real quick, if you had one piece of advice for anybody considering moving to seminary, becoming a church worker, what would that one piece of advice be?
I'd say look to the people around you and to the scriptures, and really listen and abide in God's word, and trust the Holy Spirit, because if He's calling you here, it's gonna keep knocking on your door.
Amen. Christy?
I would say specifically to the wives is follow in faith, because a lot of times I think, who are you listening to? What are you listening to about what a pastor's wife isn't the truth, as opposed to what God has in store for you. And so being more aware of what those fears are and not letting that speak and make your decisions, rather than letting it be God saying, this is where you go, and then just do it.
Yeah, that's great.
That's beautiful. Well, Dan, Christy, thank you both for joining us on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And if you yourself have been wrestling with the idea of becoming a church worker, don't wrestle by yourself. Reach out to our department. Fill out a request for information. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. You can also find it at csl.edu. Conversation is free, but somebody from our team will reach out and talk to you and help you through that process, because we're not meant to walk through it alone. We are the body of Christ, and Christ calls us to live life together. And as you're in that process, search the scriptures and see what God has in store for you, and trust the faith that He has given you through the Holy Spirit. And if you know church work isn't for you, but you sit in church every day and you're always looking at somebody and like, man, they would be a great teacher, pastor, deaconess, don't think. Make sure you tell them, because you could be that person that inspires them to fill out the request for information and perhaps follow God's call to becoming a church worker someday in the future. As always, thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe to our new YouTube page, Concordia's Sem Under the Fig Tree. And yeah, once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you all next time under the fig tree. Take care.